What's up, one? Back on here real quick. Had to slide through. Thank you for tuning in to Your Eyes and Your Ears Don't Lie. But how many of y'all saw the U.S. Open? Men's final on Sunday. They had me rolling. First off, it was a bad look how this fool comes out there and everything about him is fake. He be standing on the balcony of the White House waving to nobody. Be at parades waving to 10,000 people claiming it's 500,000. Came into the U.S. Open, where that place holds 23,771 people at capacity. And they can squeeze more out of it for the U.S. Open. Because it's a normal tennis center throughout the year. But Arthur Ashe Stadium, you could probably squeeze a few more into there if you really wanted to. But nonetheless, this dude was waving to an empty-ass stadium. It had less than 1,000 people in there when he arrived and was waving, trying to act like he's loved. Everybody hates you, except your MAGA maggots. Them brainless idiots that overwhelmingly are just racists and pedophiles themselves. Otherwise, your behavior would bother them and disqualify you, but it don't. So birds of a feather flock together. But this fool coming in there, ordering the United States Tennis Association, the USTA, and the media broadcasting the tournament not to show any booze on television. So they were in the midst of cutting footage and editing stuff, zooming in, so that way, as he's waving, you can't see what he's waving at. But thankfully, you had Don Lemon, you had a whole lot of fans that were there that had footage of it that they posted on social media. Like I say, there was probably only 1,000 people that were in there when he first arrived, but those are people with their cell phones out, because you can't miss this fat orange blob coming in. You knew what was going on, because with the VIPs and the media and the select few that were in there, you knew what was happening because they didn't let anybody else in there. Usually you open the doors to the stadium an hour or two before, just because you want to make sure you could funnel in 23,000 people to their seats before you start the festivities. They didn't do any of that. They started this tournament so late for the men's final. It was ridiculous. You listen to Sinner talk about how it really threw him off and he didn't like it. He hated it. It really affected his play, but Alcaraz was definitely the better player that day. So he took that L, but he talked about it. It was a problem and it bothered him, messed up his mojo, because he had already warmed up and was ready to go. But the fact that this fool is so thin-skinned, just a wussy. You know, this fool, you walking around looking like Sloth from the Goonies. You filthy, dirty, fat son of a bitch. Just disgusting. Everything about you is just disgusting. You sloppy, dirty, dingy, dusty, degenerate. Waving to an empty-ass stadium and then telling everybody to make me look popular. Nobody want to come to your birthday party. So your mom gonna call their mom and make them all show up. That's the type of shit you was on. Everybody hates you, you clown. And then the attitude that he had, where you could tell he was not happy that Carlos Alcaraz won. So what would make you not want the Spaniard to win? I wonder. While you were mad, clearly visibly angry and distraught that the Spaniard won and not the Italian guy, who's 6 months returned from his drug violation suspension, which was bullshit, because they did it in a manner where you suspended him so he wouldn't miss any of the Grand Slams to keep the rivalry going. But that's neither here nor there. We ain't gonna bog down this video with that. But we could chop that up one other day. But congratulations to Carlos Alcaraz, and I loved how you looked Trump dead in his shit and didn't go shake his hand or nothing. So what did the pedophile and chief do? His little crybaby ass, when he got done pissing and moaning and pouting, he got his stank ass up and left before the ceremony. Didn't come down, didn't hand out the trophy, didn't do none of that. Probably because you knew you couldn't steal the trophy like you did with the soccer. But if you go back and you look, they booed the shit out of him and he deserved it. I love where you go everywhere and they boo the shit out you. Approval ratings is down in the dirt, in the dump. Nobody likes your ass except your cult members. And why should anybody? Every decent person should hate your ass.